Hey comic lovers, EMoney, the old man, and Thor the Dog of Thunder are back with you again, here to bring you another episode. Hey boy, what's up? How you doing?
You ain't got no treats. I got the treats. Easy.
Alright, so on today's episode, we are talking about mistakes made in comic book movies and how the old man and I could have fixed them.
Easily. Some
Yeah,
of them,
I mean,
so
they
easy.
should hire us as consultants in the comic book movie business.
Minimum, they should hire us to just check off on stuff. Say, all right, that's okay. All right, no.
I mean, there are just examples of things, decisions made, where if it were brought to me, I just looked at that and be like, what?
What are you thinking?
Why? No, fix this. So that's what we're going to be doing here today. And, you know, Hollywood, if you see this video, call us. You know, email's right there. All right? All right, so.
Hey, what? There doesn't need to be a dog in every movie.
All right. Unlike WandaVision, we're giving the people what they want. This is Back Issues. All right, comic lovers. So before we get started today, don't forget to subscribe to our channel, turn on your notifications, give us a thumbs up, and if you like, leave us a comment. You know, what we're talking about today, it's subjective. I mean, it's our own...
No, it's not subjective. Anything I say is fact.
It's our factual opinions. So if you have other alternate facts, then let us know about what you think in the comment section. All right, so mistakes made in comic book movies that we could have fixed if they had just run it by us.
All they had to do was check with us.
Yeah. Some of these movies, I mean, there's a whole list of things that we could have fixed. Other movies, otherwise good stuff, just, one or two little tweaks could have made it better.
Oh, hell, some of these are disasters.
Yeah.
But at any rate.
All right, first movie. We've talked about it before. Green Lantern.
And we'll probably talk about it again.
Yeah, probably so. Now, we talked about a little bit last week in our show, but for this, we're going to be talking about, first of all, the CGI suit. And, you guys talked about it. Ryan Reynolds has poked fun out of it after the fact.
I mean, why?
Yeah, I mean, everyone else has a suit. Superman has a suit. Batman has a suit. Captain America has a suit. I mean, even Tony Stark wears parts of the Iron Man suit. Some of it's CGI, admittedly, but a lot of that stuff he's actually wearing. So I don't know why they felt the need to give Green Lantern a full CGI suit.
There was no need. It was because they could.
Yeah, I mean, this mistake is made a lot with CGI in this modern age. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. And
isn't it still more expensive than to make a suit?
I would have thought so. Like, maybe they think because they have this big budget that they can just go all out. And, hey, it's more expensive. It must be better, right?
No, it's not. Trust me.
Look at, Peter Jackson's Hobbit prequels.
No, we're not about
That's a whole other discussion, but you didn't have to do that. You shouldn't have. Anyways. All right, so in addition to the CGI suit, this is something we're going to talk about a lot in this episode, and that's too many villains. I mean, you had Mastermind, I think was his name. Mm-hmm. And, I mean, he would have made a good first movie villain all on his own.
Well, see, I've always felt like in a debut of a new superhero, in his first movie, mm-hmm. there needs to be a discovery phase. Mm-hmm. I love discovery phase, where the superhero learns how to do his stuff. Like, all of a sudden, Green Lantern Hal Jordan goes from being a test pilot to a superhero who's got this power ring that it's almost immediately knows how to do everything. Mm-hmm. He needs to fight a kidnapper, some bank robbers, warm up a little bit until you actually go after a supervillain.
Yeah. And then but that brings us to Parallax. I mean, Parallax is supposed to be a, Thanos, Darkseid, Galactus level villain, right?
He's a movie number 3 villain.
Yeah.
Not a movie number 1 villain.
And also, is it even conceivable that a single Green Lantern could defeat him?
Well, not the way Jordan did.
I mean, he just comes up and, he's attacking and, Hal Jordan recites the oath and all of a sudden, his willpower is stronger. He can beat him now. Like, it didn't track. It didn't make any sense.
Yeah, it sucked.
So there it is on, we could go all day on Green Lantern, but that's our main grievances. Next up is another movie that could have used some work, Ghost Rider.
And one we've talked about before.
We've talked about casting. Also, the R rating, or I'm sorry, the PG-13 rating that should have been an R rating.
This is almost a direct quote from things I've said in the past. How do you make a movie about a demon who's a spirit of vengeance and not rated R? That son of a buck might be rated X.
Yep.
I mean, it needs to be ultra violent. And if it's not violent, then he's not the spirit of vengeance. He's the spirit of bunny rabbits or something. I don't know.
And also, side note, there was like several scenes in the film where like a character will look out at someone and be like, "You," and that long drawn out pause is like, why are you doing that? Stop that. I mean, it's kind of like in the Matrix films where like everyone's going. It's like,
Well,
okay, once it's fine, but you know, after a while it gets kind of ridiculous.
Good guy's got to taunt the bad guy. I mean, Bruce Lee showed us that.
All right, so there's Ghost Rider and its lack of an R rating. Next up, I mentioned it earlier, Fantastic Four: Rise of the Silver Surfer. There's a few problems in this film, but our main grievance was Galactus.
It's not Silver Surfer, which I thought they did amazingly well with, which surprised me. I would have sworn you could not do that.
But Galactus, a giant space death cloud.
Okay. What was wrong with the ginormous humanoid Galactus? Okay, his big hat is kind of silly looking until you put it on the head of a creature that is going to devour your planet. Then it's not funny anymore. I mean, why would you change an iconic villain like that so much? Was it budget? If it's budget, just don't do Galactus. Do the Frightful Four. Do one of the many bazillion other villains the Fantastic Four has fought.
I mean, you could have done a lot of the story with, you know, Silver Surfer and Doctor Doom in that film, and like tease Galactus for the next movie or something.
Well, don't even talk about him if you're going to make him a stupid giant cloud.
Right.
But at any rate.
All right. So there's Fantastic Four. Next up, and there's a lot of stuff that falls under this umbrella.
Anytime we complain about movies, this one is probably going to be involved.
Batman and Robin, Joel Schumacher. And, you know, so many things about this one. We talked about casting last week. Another problem, and you know, this falls under the same problem, too many villains. And also, two villains that just should not go together at all. Mr. Freeze and Poison Ivy. And then you turn Bane into a mindless thug. I mean, have you read a comic book?
Bane is not now, nor ever will be, a mere henchman. He doesn't work for other people. He's the boss. He is one of the most intelligent villains Batman has ever faced. He's the only guy who broke him. He did.
Yep.
He set him up. He just wore him down till he had nothing left. The only villain who has ever done that. And you're going to make him just some mindless brute? Come on, people.
And also, you know, Joel Schumacher had Batman Forever. And side note, he kind of had Batman down to a point in Batman Forever because he was still using the Tim Burton formula in that film. But then in Batman and Robin, he just went completely off the rails. But in Batman Forever, you could have used Commissioner Gordon more in that film so that we could get to know his character a little bit better. So then that way, when Batman and Robin comes along, you could actually have Barbara Gordon be Commissioner Gordon's daughter like she should be, rather than making Alfred's niece.
What the hell's that?
Like, I had never heard of that until this movie.
And no, there was absolutely no point to it.
No.
Why? Why would you do that? There's no reason.
No.
Now, I'm going to... Anytime we bring this movie up, there's one vent I have to make. Batman does not make public appearances. He doesn't accept the key to the city. He doesn't accept a credit card. He's Batman. Most people don't even believe he exists because they've never seen him. Why would you do that to the character? This isn't the Adam West TV show. What the hell's wrong with you people? No.
All right, so a lot of stuff that fell under. I mean, I'm not sure. I mean, I think that if they had given us, they had to run it through us, like we've been saying. If they had given us the script of Batman and Robin, we just would have thrown it out, right?
Trashed it.
Yeah.
It's horrible from the beginning to end.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we could have saved the script of this movie. I think we would have had to start from scratch.
You would have had one of those villains in there.
Mm-hmm.
You could have chosen the Riddler. You could have chosen Two-Face.
Well, I mean, in Batman, that's Batman Forever. But
okay. But in the next movie, Poison Ivy can carry a movie.
Mm-hmm.
She can.
Yeah. I mean, you can have her fighting plants, and she can have a bunch of henchmen because they fall under her spell. They can do all kinds of stuff with her. All right, so there's Batman and Robin. We could go all day. All right, so next up, and this isn't about Civil War specifically, but it's an example of our grievance, and that is movie trailers. And you guys have heard me talk about this, how they reveal too much in movie trailers. And I've given you my example of, Spider-Man, Captain America, Civil War. Won't go into all that. But I want to say superhero movies have an advantage that other movies don't. And that you don't need to give us a lot of information when we already know the existing characters.
You tell me there's a Captain America movie coming out in 3 months. You already have my money.
Yeah.
I will be there.
Yeah, Spider-Man's coming out next. I mean, it's not, but example, Spider-Man's going to be out next month. You need to know anything more.
That's all I need to know.
Yeah. I mean, you could at most make a 30-second promo to play on TV.
Show him swinging through New York or something.
Yeah, I mean, be very vague. You don't have to give any details. You don't have to give away plot points. Just show them, Spider-Man movie. It's coming out.
Maybe let me know who one of the villains is.
Mm-hmm.
Just one.
I mean, I didn't need to know Spider-Man was going to be in Civil War. Hell, I didn't need to know that Black Panther was going to be in Civil War.
Okay. Spider-Man. Spider-Man had been contractually owned by a different company for many, many years. Fans are clamoring to get him in the MCU. Clamoring. And, okay, there were rumors that, they were in negotiation to bring him in, but didn't know until I saw the trailer. I would have loved to have been sitting in that movie theater when Tony Stark yells, "Underoos," and Spider-Man shows up.
Mm-hmm.
I would have stood up.
Mm-hmm.
I might have clutched my chest and dropped dead to the ground. I don't know. It might have saved my life by knowing, but I would have loved to have experienced that as a surprise.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't give me that. You
Nope.
took it away from me. Shame on you.
Yep. Another example, Thor Ragnarok. I mean, did you need to know that Hulk was going to be in the movie?
Why?
Yeah.
Why do I need to know that?
Yeah. I mean, just let us know that later, like when we're actually in the movie. Don't need to give away details. All right. All right. So that covers Civil War. Next up, and this is a small, I mean, I guess relatively small grievance that is sort of about me, because X-Men: The Last Stand, I've talked about it before. Juggernaut and Colossus. If these two characters are anywhere near each other, they have to fight. I mean, that's practically a rule. These two have to duke it out. But apparently no one told these guys, because they were on the island together. They were in the vicinity. They were within probably 100 yards of each other at one point. And they never see each other. They never fight. They never duke it out.
Well, wait a minute. So you're telling me that Juggernaut and Colossus were in the same vicinity and they didn't even have a beer together?
Never saw each other.
Sit down and play checkers?
No. Mm-mm. I'm not even sure they knew each other existed.
Do you people read comic books before you write these things?
You know who Juggernaut's big opponent was in that last scene?
Kitty Pryde.
Kitty Pryde. Yeah.
Which was a cool scene, don't get me wrong.
Yeah, I mean, no offense to Kitty, but it's just that's not who you expect Juggernaut to fight. All right, so we go from X-Men: The Last Stand, which brings us to our next point, X-Men in its entirety and the continuity in its films. I mean,
well, let's face it, one of the things that Marvel Comics and the MCU have been excellent at is maintaining continuity. I mean, the comic books, they'll relaunch it every once in a while.
Yeah.
But during that run, they pay attention to what the other comics are doing.
I mean, they have a plan.
Yeah.
I mean, X-Men, they seem to be flying by the seat of their pants every movie.
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty much, if we mention something from a past movie that, okay, listen to that, but everything else you saw in the movie, forget about it. Because this is going to be kind of like a standalone movie with flashbacks, pretty much. Because, like, for example, throughout the X-Men franchise, there's been, like, 3 different versions of Wolverine's Weapon X origins. I mean, you've got one where he's waking up and he doesn't know what's going on. Like, oh my God, what did you do to me? X-Men Origins Wolverine, he's, like, coming out of the vat, and he's like, I'm like made of metal now, I'm ready to go. And then another version where like Cyclops and Jean Grey are in the facility with him and help set him free. Like, which one is it? And also there's like 3 different versions of Stryker. In one version he's a black guy, another version he's a little person. It's like, what the hell's going on? Is he a shape changer? Is that what's going on here? I mean, it just made no sense. Like, make up your mind, Fox. All right, so I think that covers X-Men. All right, so next up, we have... this is a problem that happens... It happened in this movie, but also happens in next movie we got here, Thor Ragnarok, and that is unceremoniously killing off characters. I mean, some characters, you know, they get to have a proper goodbye. Logan had an entire movie to say goodbye.
Although, he's not dead.
Okay.
That's sad the point.
Tony, he died saving the entire universe. And he had a kick-ass funeral scene. And, you know, other characters have gotten good send-offs. Other characters is like, oh, wait, oh, did they die? Huh. I mean, Thor Ragnarok. You got Volstagg and Fandral. You know, Hela shows up in Asgard, and they're, you know, at the Rainbow Bridge, and they're like, who are you? What do you want? What have you done with Thor? Dead.
I mean, Fandral is basically Errol Flynn.
Mm-hmm.
So he's a swordsman extraordinaire. He's not going to go out like a bitch. Volstagg, granted, Volstagg tends to be comic relief.
They had some great scenes in the first 2 Thor movies.
But Volstagg is still a mighty warrior.
Mm-hmm.
For him to just go out like a bitch?
Yeah, I mean, in the second movie, he was like, you know, swinging his axe and taking on dark elves and defending the Hall of Asgard. And in this movie, just dead. Hogan, he got a half-decent death scene.
He got to fight.
Yeah, he got to fight. He got a hit in on Hela. So, you know, his wasn't so bad. X-Men The Last Stand, Cyclops. He gets killed off-screen.
I mean, I forgot that even happened.
Yeah. I mean, you see him reunite with Jean after she comes back, and then Storm and Wolverine, I think, discover later that Jean had killed him, and you know did the same thing to him that she does later to Professor X. So I mean, why do you do that? You know, like
you give an iconic character,
yeah.
At least give him a decent death scene if you determine you're going to kill him.
Yeah, give him a good send off.
Granted, the Asgardians are gods, so they'll probably be back.
I mean, let them go down swinging. That's all I'm saying.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And Heimdall, he barely got a better death scene in Infinity War when he was killed in the very beginning. I mean, at least Thor grieved him for, you know, a second or 2, I guess.
All right, this next one, I don't have it.
Okay, next one, Jonah Hex. This is one of those movies like Batman and Robin where I'm not sure we could have saved the script at all. Just throw it in the trash.
Yeah, I mean, you've said this many times. Why would you want to redo the Wild Wild West?
I mean, you saw, you know, the box office results of Wild Wild West. You had that data at the time, and yet you're trying to emulate it in Jonah Hex. And don't tell me that you didn't see the similarities. I mean, they were there. I mean, they were plain as day. Yeah.
Did you read any Jonah Hex comic books? I'm going to say no. I'm going to say somebody told you it was a Western and they needed to beef it up some. Okay, first off, there would have been nothing wrong with doing a straight Western.
Mm-hmm.
If you needed some juice, you should have done a story arc called Two Gun Mojo. My favorite Jonah Hex story. it's Jonah Hex in fighting zombies. I mean, it's a great story. You could have juiced it up with zombies. It could have fit into multiple genres, but no, you didn't. You didn't read any comic books.
All right, so pretty much all there is to say about Jonah Hex. All right, so next up, and this movie is the prime example, but I've already mentioned it a few times already. Too many villains in movies.
Yeah, and
I mean, you're oversaturated. It's like a director or a writer. They feel like they get one chance to do this character, so you want to cram in as much as possible, and you end up sabotaging yourself. I mean, Spider-Man 3, it had New Goblin, it had Sandman, it had Venom, and you were just throwing too much at us. I mean, at most, maybe you do New Goblin as the introduction or the first act of the movie, and then do the Venom saga.
I mean, obviously, Venom can carry a movie.
Yeah.
So why wouldn't you give us a good introduction to Venom and make the whole movie about that?
Yeah. I mean, you didn't have to throw in Sandman and give us his whole origin story, killing Uncle Ben, adding that part, adding a whole new element to it.
First off, Sandman didn't kill Uncle Ben. Everybody who reads Spider-Man knows that. And since when did Sandman become a godlike being? He's not that powerful. Not even close. So read comic books.
So they make this mistake in Spider-Man 3. They kill the franchise because there were plans for Spider-Man 4. I mean, it was in the stages. It was going to happen, but they killed it with Spider-Man 3, and then they relaunch with Amazing Spider-Man, and they make the exact same mistake in Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Wasn't that the franchise where they're trying to introduce the Sinister Six?
Yes.
Which we talked about that. I'd
like another movie
Sinister Six,
that was in the works.
But can you really put 6 villains in the same movie?
Not what I mean. Same thing the DCEU does, and they're trying to jump the gun. They're not giving us a couple movies where they flush out the characters. They're just gonna throw it.
Develop the Sinister Six, and then maybe don't try to develop them and make them the main villain in one movie.
If you had thrown all these, if Avengers: Infinity War was like the second or third movie in the MCU, would that have worked?
Oh no.
No, I mean all those characters running around, ones that you haven't even met, you barely know them. Like no, people wouldn't have responded as well to that. So same thing here with Amazing Spider-Man 3 is what they were planning. But Amazing Spider-Man 2 had problems in that you introduce, this new Green Goblin guy, you have Electro, and then you try to shoehorn in Rhino in the last second.
Another character that deserves, if not, maybe not a full movie, but more than they gave him.
I feel
Rhino
like
was one of the major villains in the early years.
I feel like Rhino and Scorpion would have made a good villain team up for Spider-Man to take on.
Sure.
So, maybe have done it that way, but not just try to, wedge him into the very end of the movie. All right, so there it is. Like, stop putting too many villains into your movie. The magic number, I think, is 2 at the most. Spider-Man Homecoming had Vulture, and then as a secondary character, Shocker. Which, Shocker, he's given Spider-Man trouble, but I don't think he's ever been quite on the same level as other Spider-Man villains.
No, he needs to be part of the Sinister Six.
Yeah. So, there you have it. Stop putting too many villains in. All right, next up, we have a couple of things about Avengers Endgame. Now, I know what you're thinking right now. Like, improve on Avengers Endgame? How dare you? But
it's minor, but
it's almost a perfect movie, okay? So don't get me wrong.
Let's put it this way. I rate movies on a 4-star system.
Mm-hmm.
I gave this one 4 stars. There's never been a year in my life where I gave 2 movies 4 stars in the same year. And so this was my one that year.
Okay. So Avengers Endgame, there were a few things in the battle for the universe that I wanted just a little bit more of. Remember, Doctor Strange is like, is that everyone? And Wong's like, what? You want it more? Like, yes, Wong, I do want more. I always want more.
Granted, the contract thing, but X-Men led by Wolverine, would that have been cool?
Sure. I mean, X-Men and FF characters that we hadn't even seen yet, still haven't seen for that matter, that might have been asking a little too much. But there were things that we could have had in the movie that they decided not to. Like, for example, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
You're telling me there's a reason that this kind of thing is going on and S.H.I.E.L.D. doesn't even make an appearance?
Mm-mm.
What, Samuel Jackson's taking a dirt nap?
Yeah.
What the hell?
And also, I mean, you're telling me Quake wouldn't have been useful in that fight?
Of course.
Yeah. It would have been nice to see her. Maybe Agent Coulson, he could have, shown up, let the Avengers know that he was alive.
Do they know he's alive?
Nope, not yet.
They need to find out.
Yeah.
Cap needs to find out.
Other little things. I saw some of the concept art for the battle that they had drawn up that they didn't use in the final version of the film. Hulk gets his rematch with Thanos. Would have liked to have seen that.
See, I'm never going to look at Hulk again the same way. I mean, they left him as a coward. I can't handle that. He's not a coward.
Yeah. Another was there were going to be more aerial battles in the film. Now, you see a little bit of it because, we got a couple flyers on our side. Iron Man and Valkyrie and a few other people are flying around. But there were ships on our side. The Wakandans had ships. The Ravagers had ships. And we hardly see any of that, them fighting in the battle.
The only real aerial combat you have is overkill when Captain Marvel shows up.
Oh, that too, yeah. So, would have liked to have seen just a hair more, okay?
When you go back to the portals, I wanted to see the Defenders come.
Well, I mean, I assume that was due to some kind of legal red tape with Netflix, but...
If I'm an executive for Marvel, Disney, whatever, and I contact the executive at Netflix and say, hey, could we throw your Defenders into this super cool movie? And if the guy said no, then he's an idiot.
All right, so there's Avengers Endgame, few just small things. All right, so that brings us to our last grievance, and one you guys have probably also had. I mean, there's all kinds of problems with Suicide Squad, but what we're focusing in on is Jared Leto's Joker. The script writing, the look, I don't know what they were thinking, why they felt like they had to, get Joker tatted up, give him a grill, and he's walking around barefoot half the time. I mean, why do they feel like they need to separate themselves from what came before them?
The Joker's the Joker. Quit trying to rewrite him.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm one of those guys, I know I'm an idiot, but I didn't like Heath Ledger's version of the Joker because it's not the Joker. I mean, read even the modern comic books. Joker has a certain style. He has a certain motive, which is usually messing with Batman.
Yeah.
What was this guy doing? He's a gangster. Joker's not a gangster. I mean, he might commit some crimes, but usually it's to get inside Batman's head.
I mean, there was a time where he had henchmen and he had Harley Quinn and all that stuff. But if you read the modern comics, he's really just a, lunatic running around on his own, and he's trying to get at Batman. If he comes at anyone else, any members of the Bat family, Commissioner Gordon,
to get at Batman.
It's to get at Batman. And he terrorizes Gotham, same thing. So I think they missed the point of who Joker is supposed to be. So, Jared Leto, I'm sorry that they did you like that, but he might have a chance to redeem himself. I don't know, because the Snyder Cut is coming out, and based on the last trailer I saw, Jared Leto's Joker is going to be in that, which that will correct one of the mistakes made in this film, in that so far Jared Leto is the only Joker who has not shared a scene with Batman.
Hey, that Snyder Cut, is that going to be the same day as Falcon and Winter Soldier?
Yeah, actually it is.
I don't know that I can handle that. That might be overload.
All right, we're going to need to get the snacks, get the popcorn. Yeah, we got a big day next Friday. All right, so that about covers again, could go all day with Suicide Squad, but that covers the Joker.
See, I actually thought Suicide Squad was a pretty good movie. Didn't like the Joker, but the rest of it, I enjoyed.
All right, so that about covers the grievances that we could come up with. I mean,
The stuff that, if they'd have asked us, we could have helped them fix.
mm-hmm. And we could probably come up with a few more things if you let us think a little longer.
Look, if some of these movies that are in planning stages, I honestly expect to get some emails.
Mm-hmm.
And I will answer every email we get with solutions to your problems.
Emails right there.
Yeah, right there.
Yeah, let us know.
We're easy to get in touch with.
Yep.
Easy peasy.
Mm-hmm. All right, so that does it for our list of grievances. Maybe we'll have a part 2 in the future. I don't know. All right, so in the past, we have done our comic book review show, which happens every Thursday. So we stopped doing that video because we weren't getting a whole lot of interest, and it was just too expensive. I mean, we couldn't afford to do the comic books every week, but we're kind of integrating it into back issues because we're about comic books here.
We still buy some new comic books, just not as many as we would have if we were doing a full-blown review show.
All right, so what we're going to do is we are going to give our scores on our top 3 comic books from last week,
which we've already done.
So check out our last review video to see that. But this week we're going to give you our recommendations for upcoming comics this week, which is Wednesday.
Now, in our time, that's tomorrow.
Mm.
In your all's time, it's today.
Yeah.
I think. That's the way it works?
I mean, assuming you watched us the day we posted. So, yeah.
This time travel stuff messes me up. But at any rate, so half of this part of the show is going to be us telling you comic books that we're looking forward to. We'll probably do 3 unless it's an amazing week. So, we ready to do that?
Right, give us our top recommendations.
So, Captain America Anniversary Tribute's coming out. Now, anybody who watches this channel or knows me knows that that's another case of they already have my money. I'm going to get that. Duh. I know there's at least 2 variants. One is a homage to Avengers number 4, the first Silver Age appearance of Cap, and the other is an homage to actual Captain America number 1 back in the Golden Age, where he's punching out Hitler. I'm not sure which one I ordered from Comic Book World. I might just go ahead and pick them both up. Who knows? But recommend that, sight unseen. Also, if you haven't been reading the current Thor storyline, bad for you.
It's good stuff.
It's really good. Mm-hmm. The guy who's writing it, the guy who's drawing it, it's like they're the perfect team for this type of book. If you read The Mighty Thor, which was a 13-issue run, 14, a short run that happened before this series, that would be a good idea to read too. But at any rate, Thor number 13 comes out tomorrow. If you don't know anything about Don Blake, you might want to do a little research because you're going to meet him. Mm-hmm. And the story's just badass. I really like it. All right, and the last thing we're going to recommend, sight unseen, is Justice League number 59. It's the first Justice League since Future State ended. We've been picking up almost all the DC books as they continue from the Future State just because I want to see what they're doing. Won't continue to get them all, but I don't even know who's going to be on the Justice League team, and I got to know. We opted to get the wraparound cover, so I'm looking forward to those 3 comics.
All right, so there you have it. So our top recommendations, and next week we'll give you our recommendations and our grades for this week's comics. All right, so that does it for this segment. So I have a special segment planned out in the garage.
What?
Yeah.
What happened to Stump the Old Man? We're not going to do Stump the Old Man?
All right, let's head back up into the garage with Thor. All right, comic lovers. So, normally this would be about the time that we do the Stump the Old Man segment, but we're going to do something a little different today. Or rather, we're going to do something old today, I should say.
What's that old stuff?
Just to mix it up a bit. Not every week, but just to, give the old man a little break from all the trivia questions. Now, If you've been a fan of my channel for a long time, you might remember a little show I used to do on my own called EMoney's Reviews. In the show, I had this segment called EMoney's Movieisms.
You did.
And what that is I talk about a trope or a tradition, cliche that they put in a lot of movies that I noticed. Some of them included one of my favorites, The Bad Walk.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Bad walk.
Yeah. Just walking, slow motion, explosions going on behind you, that sort of thing. One of my first movieisms was the Rufio, where the second most important good guy in the movie goes up against the number one bad guy and ends up getting killed.
Yeah, always a bad move.
Yeah, hence the Rufio. And a lot of other things like that. So every now and then I am going to do a movieism on here that is kind of comic book character centric. So for this first one, this is one I've never done before. This is called the startup suit. And this is sort of traditional in a lot of different comic book movies. When character just getting started in his superhero career doesn't have the money or the idea in their head for their fully realized super suit, so they kind of piece it together in order to go out and fight crime. All right, so like for example, Spider-Man, he had through the 3 different franchises, he had a couple of startup suits. In Spider-Man Homecoming, he actually went back to the startup suit when Tony Stark took his suit away.
Gave you a choice. You chose wrong.
Oh, what the hell?
What's with the crappy costume?
Captain America, the First Avenger, also had a startup suit back when he was still a...
Oh, the promotional suit?
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah, well, they actually pulled that off a bit when he kind of like, he put a jacket on and he took a helmet and he had the metal shield. I don't know why the metal shield that he used for those shows was like, bulletproof metal. I mean, you're putting on a show. I mean, it should be like made of wood or something, right? But then he did. He had that suit.
Who are you supposed to be?
Captain America.
I beg your pardon?
Iron Man, good example when he's locked up in the cave and he has to escape. He doesn't have access to limitless technology like he normally would.
I mean, let's face it, he built his first suit in a cave.
Yep.
So you get what you
and
get.
he had big clunky metal armor, and he had the flamethrowers, and he had like a one shot rocket pack. His a one shot to get out. And then finally, our old pal Deadpool, before he realized that he needs to wear red so bad guys don't see him bleed. He just wears sunglasses, a scarf over his face, and a white hoodie.
Why do we always come back to Deadpool?
Because I know how it makes you feel.
You're just
all warm and tingly inside, doesn't it?
You're just a mean little man. Bite him. Bite him.
Don't bite Uncle Buddy. Don't bite Uncle.
Bite him.
This shit's gonna have nuts in it. Where's Francis?
All right, so that does it for this week's movieism. Next week, am I back to movieism? Am I back to Stump the Old Man? I don't know.
That's movieisms. Y'all say you want movieisms.
All right, comic lovers, that about does it for this episode. But before we go, usually we talk about what we're going to be doing next week, and I'm going to get to that. But first, I want to give a unpaid endorsement, if you will.
Wait a minute. Why can't we get paid?
Well, you want to get in touch with the guys and ask them about it, you just go ahead and do that.
I might.
All right, so you may have heard the old man and I talk about the guys at Bat in the Sun a couple times. They are the guys behind the superpower beatdown videos that you can find on YouTube, where they pit two superheroes, or it doesn't have to be superheroes, two characters against each other who wouldn't normally meet. And they have a big battle, and they decide who wins by votes. So, you know, it's up to the viewers about who wins.
And sometimes the viewers are just cray.
Yeah, I mean, some of those battles didn't pan out like I thought they should. But the guys at Bat in the Sun do other things. They do a couple different short films, including one they just released last week, and that is Batman Dying is Easy. And it's a great 25-minute short film in which Batman is investigating the disappearance of 3 GCPD officers, and the trail leads him back to Arkham Asylum, where he has to meet up with an old friend. So if you want to check it out, it's on YouTube. Watch it. Batman Dying is Easy, and be sure to subscribe to Bat in the Sun.
Good stuff.
Yeah. All right, so that does it for the endorsement. Now on to what we're going to be doing next week. And we're back on like solid comic books next week.
It's been a couple weeks
Yeah,
since
we've done
books.
comic book movies a lot the last few weeks, so we're back on to solid comic books. And we're going to be talking about controversial moments in comic books. They're the kind of moments that make you turn the page and you're like, they did that. So the kind of moments that make you do that. All right, so be sure to tune in, and if you have opinions on those moments, let us know in the comment section. Maybe you'll give us an idea. All right, so check us out. Don't forget to subscribe, and we'll see you next week. Excelsior.
True believers, spring is coming.